So as you're looking in your lab, again, getting back to the clinical biohacker space, at these markers that you use in your labs, just what are some of the things that you use to
Yeah.
estimate age?
So I think that the tricky, I mean, this is really the holy grail of the field, right? So something that you can measure in the circulation that will give you a definitive answer.
That's why I
We're
asked.
we're still working on it as the answer to that. I mean, telomeres are really interesting. So the thing with telomeres is A, they're really hard to measure, and B, that they are really variable. So within the same population of cells in a 10-year-old, you will have an overlap of telomere length with a 60-year-old. So the longest telomeres in a 60-year-old will overlap with the shortest telomeres in a 10-year-old. So
Mhm.
this is a distribution, and it's not as simple as it's this, therefore equals that. The same thing with the epigenetic clocks. I mean, I think they're really, really good at telling you how old you, how many times you've been around the sun. But I think you have to ask, what actually are you measuring? So are you actually measuring age, or are you measuring a surrogate marker for age, which you almost certainly are? And how does that impact on the function of your body? I think the new clocks are starting to incorporate those functional measures in. I don't think there is one marker that you can use. I think you have to craft your markers according to what you're doing. So, for example, in the work that we are doing in the lung, we are looking at a marker called MMP7, which is
Mm.
a marker of bad remodeling in your lung. And that isn't an aging marker as such, but it's a marker of the functional impact of aging in the lung. And it's one that people are using in the clinic to evaluate drugs. So that's really the big issue that we have, and that lots of us are thinking about, is how to bridge that gap between what's a marker of aging related processes and what's a marker of disease, and where is the middle ground there between them. There's consortiums being set up. I'm part of a couple of them to be able to establish this. But I think what you're looking at is a composite of measures. You're not looking at one thing which will tell you this. You're looking at, you're taking data from a bunch of sources. And on the kind of more micro level, this is what we do with senescence, right? So there is no one marker of senescence. So when we are determining if a cell is senescent or not, I'm looking at its size, its shape, how big its nucleus is. I'm looking at whether or not it's got lots of lysozymes. I'm looking at whether or not you've got stress fibers in it. When cells start to get old, you get these stress fibers. I'm looking at a whole bunch of things to determine whether or not that cell is senescent. And I think you kind of build that up onto a systemic level, and that's what we're looking at as for aging markers. There's not going to be one, there's going to be a bunch of them that you need to kind of put together.
Yeah, no, very cool, very interesting. I mean, this whole field is just fascinating, right? I mean, obviously we're nerding out about this, but like just so cool.